All right, thanks for sticking around. We have the director, Kerwin Berk. Please come to the stage. And we have one of the actresses is also here. Do you want to come up too?
Sandra and Mickey.
Oh, yeah, come on up, please. Thanks for being here with us.
And Mickey too.
Oh, wow. You can have the seats. I can stand. Cool.
Musical chairs there.
So we have Kerwin, the director of the film. And could you both introduce yourselves? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Nikki Katsuyama-Novitsky, and I was one of the extras, makeup artist, dancer, and choreographer.
Hi, I'm Sandra Young, and I played the bartender.
Do we have any questions from the audience for the filmmakers or performers? Yes?
Was it hard to research and like get those pictures at the end?
The research the film, you mean?
Yeah, research the film, but also like find the stories of those families.
Oh yeah, so I grew up in Japantown, and a lot of the stories within the film are from my childhood and people I knew, people I grew up with. So I've been writing them down for many, many years and finally put them together into a script. The photos at the end of the film, interestingly enough, were given to me by the cast and crew members, and it's of their families. So for instance, Mickey's grandparents were in the role. And also interestingly enough, if you remember Mr. Iwata, when he's on the farm, he's holding a photo up. That's Mickey's grandmother.
Yes,
right?
my mother's mother.
Hi. So thank you for letting me see this photo.
Can you talk about some of the challenges you overcame making the film? It seems like such a sprawling, epic story. Family, you have the war, you have the situation after Pearl Harbor. Is there any stories you could share about making the movie or how long it took?
So we started we made a short film and we were going to expand it out. We made the short film in 2019 and we started screening that, and then we screened it in 2020, and then COVID hit and we were shut down for about 2.5 years. And we picked it up in 2022. And so in essence, it took about 5 years to shoot it because of the COVID break. I think the easiest part was getting people like Mickey and Sandra involved, because Mickey's being Japanese American and Sandra being Asian American. I think they understand the importance of the story. Mickey kind of on a personal level, and Sandra sort of on a larger macro level, where the story may be about Japanese Americans, but it's also bigger than our community. It's a challenge of our civil rights. We see those being chipped away every day. So again, it's sort of a cautionary tale.
Yes.
So I'm a little embarrassed to even say that I'm not clear in my mind if there were any reparations to other people in your family.
Yeah, reparations were issued in 1988. It was pushed through by Norman Mineta in the House, and Dan Inouye and Alan Simpson in the Senate. And each of the families were given, anybody who was in the camp was given $20,000, which is a pittance if you think about what they lost. Mickey, what did your family do with the 20,000?
Actually, my great uncle, Charles Nita, he lost a lot of his farm out in Loomis, California. And he was granted 20,000, but that, and he split it among his family. But he lost so much. He was one of the first people to be interrogated by the U.S. government and the FBI, just being a Japanese American leader in the community. And he was separated from his family, later joined by his family, after quite some time. They didn't know if he was alive or dead.
Is he in prison?
Yes. So they interrogated him quite a bit. He wasn't actually in the federal prison because he was not a no-no. Well, he was older. Both his sons actually went to fight in Italy, and luckily they were one of the few people that came back that alive, and they got a Purple Heart for their services. But it was sad to see because it was only 20,000, and it cost him a lot. His dignity, his human rights. And it was really hard. So, and then my paternal uncle actually was a no-no, and he was actually ostracized from the community. It was the opposite end. He was in camp, and then his friends happened to hide him or toss a mattress on top of him, so the MPs didn't get him, but they got all his friends, and he never saw his friends ever again.
What exactly was it, Nona? Just so I'm clear.
Yeah, so it started off as a questionnaire given to the men, and there were 2 questions. There were 30 questions, I believe, but 2 of them were, one was, would you be willing to join the Army? And it was structured in a way that you could interpret to me that I would join the Army. And a lot of people, obviously they didn't want to do that, or many didn't. And the 29, that was question 28. 29 was, do you forswear allegiance to the Empire of Japan? And because most of the Nisei are all born in the U.S., so they're American citizens, so it didn't make any sense. They felt it was a trick. If you denied, if you forswore allegiance, that meant you had allegiance. And then it just became this catch-22 in the questions, and they later became known as the loyalty questions. And that sort of stigma, if you said no, carried on past the war, and it meant that you were disloyal. Or if you said yes, it meant you were loyal. So it kind of broke down to that. And that riff still continues today a little bit. It's pretty, there's some places that, it still creates friction. And we're talking about people who are in the 90s now. So.
Oh, yeah, question back.
Have any of the family members shared their stories publicly in any venues, schools, or have they had that opportunity?
Yeah, there's a huge push around Redress Time to do oral histories. So there's an online site called Densho, and a lot of the camp survivors have gone on there to tell their stories. So there's a lot of documentation of it. Oddly enough, the stories that the Nisei tell on Densho were stories they never told their children. So there's a lot of stories on Densho when their kids see it, they go, wow, why didn't you tell me this when I was growing up? So it's really kind of this weird conundrum.
Can you talk about balancing like the drama and then some of the more lighter or comedic or joyful moments, and as a director selecting or omitting certain things from the movie based on your own experience and listening to people's stories?
Yeah, so we shot a ton of footage. There's this was over 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and there's probably enough for a 4-hour cut of this, but I don't think anybody would want to watch that. Because it's a very tragic story, every once in a while you had to put in a little bit of humor in order to break it up, or it becomes distraught that it just loses all sorts of sense of perspective. So the grandmother was sort of one of the comic reliefs. Keo's character is a little bit of comic relief. But yeah, you have to kind of do that, or it'll just become so depressing that, you know, people will just kind of shut down at some point.
Yes.
When I was trying to find where this was going to be shown at, I saw that a lot of questions were asked if Netflix is going to be.
Oh.
So is Netflix interested?
Yeah, well, I wish they were, but the way filmmaking is, we're indie filmmakers, and in order to even get considered for like Netflix or Amazon Prime, you need to have an agent. And there's this sort of, when you're a filmmaker, there's the creative end of being a filmmaker, the artistic part, and then there's the business of being a filmmaker. And we're not really too good at the business part, so.
Question, yeah?
Where after this, where can people watch the film? Is it going to be shown in other theaters or here?
Yeah, I feel like I'm monologuing here.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're gonna be in Stockton on May 3rd, if you know anyone. And we have just been talking to a lot of colleges in the Bay Area. And we like that because we're introducing it to younger people, and also to people who are mostly not Japanese Americans. So again, the important thing for us is to tell the story and send the message. So we will also partner with any sort of nonprofit group and hold fundraisers screenings for them. We've done that for a number of churches. And I want to thank Clara and Jeff and Girai in the booth for inviting us to play in Chinatown, where I used to hang out with you. Used to get in trouble there a lot.
That's your next movie.
Yeah.
Could it be a mini-series that's shown, I mean, hypothetically on television with the longer, like 4-hour version, like half-an-hour episodes or
Sure.
25-minute episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But again, these sort of things are done at a level that's way above my pay grade. I've never been able to kind of. We were able to make this film only because we got a small arts grant from the San Francisco Arts Commission, and people like Mickey and Sandra and about another 150 people volunteered. So everything you saw on the screen were the cast, the crew. They all came on for no pay. They all really felt strongly about the story, so they were able to make it work for them. The best we could do is feed them. So, but again, they were all, you know, I owe them a great debt.
Question, yeah?
I guess, like, how do you carry the themes and the lessons from this show in, like, your regular life? Because I feel like it's a very heavy topic, but it's still important. Does it lead into stories and, like, family?
Yeah, I take a cue from my wife. And if you try to change the world on this grand scale, it's too difficult. So what she tries to do is to kind of talk about the importance of this. Or she's Chinese American, and she will tell, you know, people she works with, and she'll tell people about this story and how it affects. It affected that generation, but it also affects people today, because we see people being shipped off to El Salvador, and we see all these depraved things being done. So what she tries to do is to talk to people individually and to change their minds person to person. So like she works at a tech company, and she makes it her mission to kind of sway anybody who voted for Trump. She'll try to work on them over time to kind of convince them that, you know, their thinking is flawed. So that's what I would suggest. You know, do it on a person-by-person basis.
Can I just make a comment? It's so important for everyone to be aware, especially our young children, to be educated about this part of history that should never be forgotten. my grandkids, we go to the park in San Mateo, Central Park, and there's a little monument there near the Japanese garden there on 442. So that's where I kind of stop every time we go because they love it there. This is so important, don't ever forget. And I like to teach them, a little bit about 442. And, it's just heartbreaking. And I said, let's just bow our heads for a minute. For all these people that sacrificed their lives. So there's just so much history here that needs to be taught to our young children and even to adults today who have never even been exposed to this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sharing. Mickey, I did notice, I thought I saw you as an extra. You look like
She
Mickey.
goes across the street a couple
Thank
times.
you.
One last question?
I'm interested in indie filmmaking, and I only moved to SF4 6 months ago. I've been trying to get into any clubs or meetups. I couldn't find any events. Is there any way that I can be a part of the community in any way possible? I'm not a student, I'm a working profession, but I just want to be part of
Sure.
the community.
Look, let me give you a business card when we're gone. I can hook you up to all sorts of, there's a bunch of Asian American filmmaking networks. There's actually a South Asian one too, if you're interested in that, something that's specific.
Yeah, I'm just interested in anything. I've been here for 6 months, trying events and meetups. I find a couple of groups, but they have been inactive for so long. So.
Yeah, look, get my card. I'm happy to give you a tip on that, sure. Sandra, would you like to say anything? Okay.
This is really just to piggyback off of what everybody has talked about, but I think it is so important for people to know what happened. We are kind of seeing history repeat itself. I think targeting, like you were saying, colleges, high schools, that's so important. This was not taught when I went to school. I don't know about all of you. I don't know if it is now. The first time I learned about this was in college, and it was specifically because I was taking an Asian American Studies class. So it was not taught as just part of the general education, and that's such a shame because I was like I learned about this in class, and I was just shocked. I was shocked that no one had ever talked to me about this, and so I just love the idea of partnering with schools. I love that this is something that we can help younger people understand, so that as they come up and as we see everything that's happening today, that we can do whatever we can to resist and make sure that this doesn't keep happening.
Any closing thoughts? Did you have something new you're working on, a new film, just to quickly mention before we go, or?
Actually, my wife and I are going to take a cruise. I don't really have any. Got a ton of ideas, but not anything really working. We're still doing the screenings, and if we do something, it'll probably be in 2026. But if anybody wants to work on a film and wants to do it for free, just give me a call.
All right. Our next screening is next month, last Saturday. Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a lovely